Our first order of business is our Pledge of Allegiance, and we're going to ask Mr. Moore to lead us this evening.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sounds robust in this room, doesn't it, when we do that, huh? Yeah. Okay. First order of business, need a motion to approve the agenda. So moved. Okay, as I look through, I see nothing that is added on or names put in or anything that as it was put out is how we're going to accept it. Any questions about the agenda? Here none, we have a motion to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Down to information. The first one is Wirt County High School faculty, not faculty. We could do that too. But facility needs, and Mr. McCown, Mr. Smith, and Mrs. Smith are going to give us a little wrap-up of facility needs at the high school. So, Mr. McCown, turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Metz. I asked Mrs. Smith, who's intimately familiar with the high school, having been principal there for many years, and Jeff being over facilities, to just come and share with the board. If you have been in the old section of the high school and spent some time in classrooms in various areas there, you may well know this, and if you haven't, you may well not. So at this time, I would just ask Mr. and Mrs. Smith to come up. You have this handout in your packet where they have summarized some information and some facilities issues that the older section of the building has, and I've asked them to come and share this information with you tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Metz. Thank you, Mr. McCown.
Okay. So, as you know, most of the high school, or the main academic part, was built 37, 38, so it's approximately 90 years old, and we've been dealing constantly with issues which has resulted in the point to where now we are at safety and security concerns, not only for our students, but for our staff as well. From what I'm understanding is that this is the main area that will be at some point, providing the board approves the bond proposal, this part of the structure will be completely demolished. And, you know, although it's served its time well, there's only so much that paint can do. You know, it may look pretty because we like pretty things, but structurally, there's not much more we can do with this part of the building. It's to the point that we're having issues most currently just this week with sewer backing up into the shower rooms there at that bottom floor. Just strange things happening that are resulting in students not being able to use those parts of the building. We had to move our football team to another locker room 2 different nights this week due to the sewer backing up, you know, and a lot of that is due to most of the pipes that's underneath that part of the building, and even into the main part are clay pipes, and they've been there since the beginning. So, you know, I'm curious to see if we go to digging into this, what are we actually going to find? With the way the building is set up and built, we can't even get to some of these pipes. We would have to literally tear up all of the concrete, all of the floors. So maintaining it is out of the question at this point. Some of the things that you will find in your packet, you know, that we've been trying to address since I think around 2015 and 16 was the windows and the doors. You know, we're to the point that we can't even get the parts needed to fix the doors that are in that current part of the building. We have several windows that are big safety concerns in that main section because if you touch them, you take a chance of them falling out. Or to the other extreme, we cannot get the windows open. So, you know, if something would happen, we would have a fire or we would have to evacuate some of those upper floors. You know, it's a point. We have several leaking roofs throughout the building, not just in that main structure. Classrooms, hallways, you'll see in the one picture, it is leaking in that main hallway there at one of the main beams where it is holding that part of the building up. There's just water setting there up in the ceiling. It's to the point of, like I said, safety and security concerns at the facility at different points within the building, not just the part that's almost 90 years old. If you look in your pictures, you'll see pictures of where the sewer system was backed up in the shower rooms this week. And this isn't the first time. This has happened another time in the summer. Our HVAC, we have rooms. One of our computer labs currently has been down since probably April of last year. We're still waiting on the parts to be able to fix that. And you know, when you add computers, you turn on 25 computers, all that does is increase the heat in that room. You know, Mr. Cockrell can attest to that because that's also the room where we have our gaming lab. We have inconsistency with our HVAC throughout the building. On that main section, you'll see that one controls the whole floor. So if the room that the control is in is cold and they turn the heat up, it may go up 15 degrees at the other end of the hallway. Our maintenance staff has tried to stopgap that by putting in, what do they call them, flaps?
Yeah,
Returns, but it still is not, there's no consistency. And I have a teacher in particular who has some health concerns, and if she gets too hot, then she begins to have issues herself. So those are just some of the concerns with HVAC that we've been dealing with here in the last several months. Like I said, we have throughout the building different roof leaks to the point that in some classrooms with the humidity that's within those classrooms, even with the standalone humidifiers that we've put in there, just overnight we will have mold growing on the ceiling tiles or down the wall that we have to clean. Door replacement, like I said, we're to the point we cannot get the parts to fix, like the classroom doors. Our maintenance staff has tried to adjust the doors to where if you go in or out of the doors, they will close behind you. But again, with the humidity and everything that we're seeing, we're still having to physically close the doors. And some of them are harder than others to open and shut. You will also see in your packet some of our wall structures with that outside wall to the courtyard. On the second and third floor has what the architects have previously named as wall cancer, because all of the plaster and everything on the inside from where the moisture is coming through the bricks is chipping off, falling apart. There are some areas where you can see the brick from inside the classrooms. This week when we had all of that rain, up on third floor, the plaster on the inside of the walls was wet. As of this morning, they still were not dry. Bathrooms, I mean, most of you have been in the bathrooms even down by the gymnasium area, and those are the best bathrooms we have in the school. None of our bathrooms are ADA compliant. You know, every time the fire marshal comes in, that is not Like I said, my main purpose, for moving forward and for being so adamant about we need some help is the safety and the security of the staff and the students in the school.
And to follow up on that, we tried to put all these pictures and such in sequential order with what Mrs. Smith was presenting. And something else, we had to go to Mr. McCown and say, yes, we just had to pick and choose what we put in here because I told Mr. McCown, without doing War and Peace, we couldn't really do it justice. We just tried to pick some of the worst areas so you could at least get an idea. And we tried to hit the worst points. Like Dottie and I discussed, we can stand up here for a long time and discuss different areas, but we just tried to summarize as best we could. Is there any questions concerning any of that, what we went through? So, yeah, go ahead.
I wrote down two. Just for everybody's main knowledge, how many citations do you think that we've required, say in the past 5 years, due to the problems that you've just talked about? If you had to guess, I'm sorry.
If I had to guess, every time they come, they are citing all of this stuff.
Right.
I've even had the fire marshal come in, and so far as if we have a piece of equipment in a room where some of this stuff is going on, he has taken his knife out and has cut the ends off the
Right.
parts
Yeah.
so that they would not be used in these areas. So,
And then the other thing I had was, so with the problems that we've seen here and the pictures of the, I know it was written down too, it was mentioned that the doors might not be secure at all times. The windows aren't even secure at all times, so it would be
we have
okay
a
to
door
say.
right now that I
Sure.
could go over and open up from the outside, even though it's locked.
So it's okay to say that it's unsecured. And there's no,
No.
it remains.
No, our maintenance people have worked their magic all they can. I mean, we just need
Sure,
a new door. I
Yeah.
mean,
I understand. I just wanted to ask that maybe for the audience
Yes.
as well.
and that was just the academic areas. That's not including, out in the annex, the football stadium, and
Sure.
all of that, plays part of this too. My main goal, like I said, is going back to safety and security, and, that's where even the facility out at the football field comes in, depending on what all happens there, again, it comes back to safety of the students and security while we're at these events. But, right now, our football team runs down to the field across from Piggly Wiggly every day for practice, and then they run back. The football coaches have to load up all of the equipment and take it with them on a daily. Unlike some of these other facilities that just get a walk out and, voila, here we are. Our track teams and our cross-country teams, they all practice on the streets of Elizabeth. That's a safety concern. We do not have enough restroom facilities, the way it currently stands, out at the stadium area. If we get a good rival game, St. Mary's and Wirt County, 2 or 3 of us are also taking people inside the facility to use the restrooms because we cannot get them through due to there only being 2 stalls in the women's and so one good stall in the men's and 2 urinals. That's not sufficient for a stadium that should be able to hold at least 1,500 people.
And that line for the restroom, it seems all game it continues.
Okay, yes. So, lots of stuff going on in a facility, I think that has served us well over the years. And I know there are a lot of memories there for people, but, there comes a time when you have to upgrade and do things that you may not want to do. But, we've been playing around with ideas. What can we do to help preserve, some of the area that's been there since, the early 30s. And, we were thinking about using some of the brick if people wanted to do like a memorial walk or some kind of a walk into the new park with the brick, It may all crumble because of the state it's in, I don't know. But There are different things I think that we can do to help preserve some of this, but we're past the point of, I think, no return with that area.
Also, I think it's worth mentioning too for the audience, because I know that we've talked about, it, maybe they don't know this. You have went in front of the SBA a couple of different times to try to get funds to renovate, correct?
Yes.
And we just couldn't.
And each time we're told that it's for new build, new build. That's the answer we're given.
When you're told that, who is telling you that? I want names.
Well, I don't know names. It's whoever is on the
SBA.
SBA at that time. We've not been back for a few years because the last time we were told, you know, these funds are for new structure. They're not for renovations.
They'd rather put their money in the new building as opposed to renovate old building.
And they have done some things,
Yes.
like they help,
The QZAP lighting we did in 2016, with the bond, and so.
but that's the last time that we've had any outside help with the school.
You pretty much answered my question, because that was one of my questions. When is the last time you requested something from the SBA?
It was 2021.
21. And that's when we were told that it was for new structure only.
Okay.
Because we went and asked for the crumbs that were left over, you know, give us, you know, just what we need to get new doors and new windows. They would not do it.
So I was with that group. I think that was my first year here as superintendent, and they said we're the school building authority, not the school renovating authority. And that was said in our meeting request. I was there for that one. But I think we've had needs projects that we have brought before my time here. I mean, that they have not funded as well. But the last time that we went was in 2021.
Wow.
So one of the things in your packet, you can't see it by this picture. This picture does not do this justice. But one of the issues that we have run into in that main section is when our custodians go in to do their clean in the summer to strip and wax the floors. The floors are, I won't say caving in, but they are sagging. And this is from today, and I know you can't see it, but these books on this bookshelf have to be pushed in all the time because they gravitate towards the floor, or where it's sagging. And it's not the bookshelf. If you look at the bookshelf, it's solid. So, you know, that's just an example. You know, we did have to do some work on the second floor because when we were stripping and waxing, our wax water was running in between the floors into the river below. That's when we started realizing, oh, there's more going on here. And when we took some stuff away from the wall and pulled back the molding, there was that much of a gap that started like this, and it gradually went like that on the second floor.
Mr. Stewart requested this almost 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, whatever it was, about a fire escape. Was that ever accomplished, or?
We had a fire escape providing the windows were open that day.
Yeah, that was,
That's 1 year before.
that was middle.
That was the middle
That was
school.
middle school.
But somebody brought up the high school too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't hardly.
But like I said, if we can't get the windows up,
We can't get to the slide or wherever.
yes.
Like literally, Mark, if you, on the third story window, Dottie and I both show you, if you touch those windows, there's a good chance they fall right out on the ground, we're just being honest with you.
So we have to, like, the teachers do not put desks up against that side of the wall. They don't, I mean, those are the stopgaps that we're doing. And something that, you know, some people may not even consider, but those rooms on the second and third floor are very small. Some of them also have indentions in them where something may have been built, or it may have housed some of the heating stuff at some point. You can barely get 20 chairs and desks in here. So the rooms are very small. They're not your standard size rooms. So that's something else, you know, when we're looking at to be cautious when we are creating schedules and stuff, where we put kids and how many kids can go into a spot. You know, we've been creative and have moved some of our classes to the auditorium just to maximize our space. I mean, we've done some different things because of the size of the classrooms. Our teachers have done some different things in the classrooms. To look at them, they look pretty because they painted over this stuff. They put curtains up, and we've had them sprayed so they're fire retardant, but just to cover what you're seeing.
I kind of hate saying this, because my camp is a can of worms, but as a health department, I mean.
They come in all the time, but they
I'm
don't,
surprised that, because I'm.
they don't go upstairs.
I was getting ready to say, I'm known places got condemned just for the mold itself.
Sure.
Yes. Like I said though, anytime it rains, especially, we know the hot spots that we need to go check and change the ceiling tiles and check and make sure we let all the water drain first, then we usually have to bleach it and put up new tiles.
And then the sewer itself is just.
Well, and it's getting worse. It was just a little bit and it would go down and we would bleach, but you
Now it's every day almost.
yeah. And like we went outside to make sure all of the drains are clear and even outside we have issues. This past week, I was waiting for the water to come in the front doors. Water was over my shoes. I had these shoes on and they were out my pants that tall trying to get out to the buses.
And
Just from the slope out front has, I don't know if it's sunk or,
And bring also various people, different parties have told us this. Our staff does a great job of this, but it hides the imperfections, so it doesn't show how bad. For example, Dottie, if you heard there was mold, what would be the first thing you'd do? Seriously.
contact my custodian and say, hey, go check this room out. Because I don't want that for our kids
Right.
or for our
But
staff.
nobody's got behind the surface.
Yes,
Well, you can only do so much
yes.
at a point, yeah.
And that's why I said we're to the point of, you know, you can't fix this. You know, every night, as soon as someone flushes the toilet in the locker room, this is what is happening.
Well, and I'll just comment, we have had Roto-Rooter out, I don't know how many times. We
Yes.
spent a lot of money for them to come out and clean out drains and do that and fix issues. And it's old and it's going to continue to have issues and
Well, and we've had, like you said, Roto-Rooter, we've had the maintenance guys in those white tie-back suits underneath, you know, even where the office bathroom
Yeah.
is, because it's notorious for, you'll hear it start bubbling, it bubbles, you'll hear it. And we know then that that the patch has come off of the plate pipe underneath, so they know where to go now. But literally, the last time it was patched with clay and mud, because nothing else will stick to it. I know that sounds crazy, but I can show you.
Do you know for a fact that it's tile that's under there?
Well, yeah, our
Yes.
maintenance people physically, that's what she was laughing about. They put these suits on it and go underneath there. Yes, they definitely.
Because
Field tile.
it's
Yeah,
sewage that's coming out of the
Yeah, and
pipe.
they're literally the ones dealing with it, our
And
maintenance staff.
it affects the special ed room where, you know, we have the individual living classes in. I mean, it affects, because it doesn't go towards the river like
It
you
goes
think.
the other way.
It goes the other way, then over, then down, then over, then back up. It's the craziest thing ever.
Okay.
But like I said, I don't know how long some of those pipes have been there.
probably
They're not
since
their traditional
1938 would be my guess.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Other
any
questions for
questions?
Mrs. Smith?
Well, I did have a question there. I'll address you with this. Do we pay insurance for being in a floodplain? Do you know?
We do not have any part of the campus that's in a floodplain right now where we have any structure.
Are you referring to where it was addressed that if we took and moved the football
in the floodplain.
No.
They'll not be allowed to build in the floodplain.
Yeah, you're directly adjacent to the floodplain, but none of the new
Yeah.
structures are proposed, none of the existing structures, as far as I know, are floodplain.
Okay, did you look with FEMA? I mean,
I
did you
looked
look at the map of, was
I think
FEMA
they
on
had the
there?
map of the thing.
Yes, we looked at the FEMA maps.
We're not in the 100-year floodplain.
And Jim was really big, the one that did the sport
Right.
presentation. He knows exactly where not to go with everything, and he's very thorough,
It
yes.
was very, very clear about staying out of that floodplain. If we do that, then we have to do.
Whole new ballgame.
Bunch of other hoops we have to jump through.
I may be mistaken, but what I pulled up on the internet, it looked like the back of the high school was in the floodplain. But now I might be mistaken about that. Anybody else check on my internet?
No, that's why we have
Yeah,
the
they
architects and
would check
engineers.
it.
Up when they checked last week, it showed the floodplain around the building, changes and stuff, if I'm not mistaken.
And something
But
else,
if we were in the floodplain, there is no doubt that we would be paying
Yeah, they can.
insurance, and we are not, okay? You know,
I appreciate the work you did put in that.
Mr. McCown, something else that we wanted to mention here real quick, just so we can clear up something. We had some of these questions since the last board meeting. Some people were confused how much of the building was going to be new, John. Remember, some of them were
Yep.
coming in and asking us. Would you say it's a good estimate, 75 to 80% of it will be new if this passes, correct, John?
So the current gym is going to be preserved, the current auditorium, and adjacent parts to that, with all of the three-story section and most everything else demoed with that. So I'd say that's a fair estimate.
you know, sometimes I think people come into our facilities, and our people do an exceptionally, through history,
Yes.
have done an exceptionally good job of taking care of our facilities. And most people come in and they're seeing our cafeteria and our auditorium and our gymnasium. And you look at those, okay, and that's what majority of our public see. Okay, they don't see the old three-story part of the high school. Okay, they're not in there at that length that you can pick up those things that are going on.
Right.
Yeah.
When was that gym rebuilt?
92.
I remember when it was done, I just couldn't remember how long ago.
The old gym turned into the auditorium, and the new gym was, the old gym sat where the auditorium is now, and then the new gym was put on. It was the same year. It was part of the project that we did with the middle school.
Could contingency money be spent to repair these issues?
I'm going to be honest with you, that middle section, I don't think there's any repair to that. We've tried in the past. We had a company come out since I've been there, and they pressure washed and cleaned that brick structure. and then they
Repointed it.
sealed But we're right back to where we were before, and that all of the moisture is coming through to the plaster on the inside of the classrooms.
Yeah, they came out and repointed all the brick
Yes.
and sealed it and sealed the windows. I wouldn't even try to guess what year that was, but now things have a lifespan.
Yes.
And whether it's our own personal homes or good old Wirt County High School, I mean, things have a lifespan.
And our goal will be, of course, if we can restore any of the nostalgic part of it, you're all in favor of that,
Yes.
Mr. McCown, I'm sure
Yep.
Mr. Metz is the same way.
Safely,
Yeah,
Yeah.
as long as it's safe, you
Right.
know.
Okay, well, thank you, guys. I don't want to hurry it. We'll give everybody all the chances they need, but if not, we'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you guys for putting that together too.
Okay, Mr. McKellen, we're now at B, if you want to take it.
Okay, so first of all, before I turn things over, we do have Joe Nassif on Teams with us this evening. He is with the West Virginia Public Finance Investment Banking, and he calculated the levy rates that were presented to you. And we have Ernie Delatorre with McKinley on there, and we also have Tom Piercy, who drafted the bond order on there. But before I turn things over to them, we did give an opportunity for board members to pose questions. And mostly the questions related to the levy rates and everything, Joe graciously answered, so I'll let him speak to all of those things. But specifically, what a board member posed the question, what's the average functional lifespan of the average school in West Virginia, and how does that compare to Wirt County High School, which was built in '38? And the answer given was, it's not a simple answer, but you can say with confidence that a new school can be built to last 70 years, but in that 70-year span, you'll still need to replace MEP systems, roofs, and other preventative maintenance and things. And so that kind of ties in with what Mr. and Mrs. Smith just said. And with that, Mr. Metz, who would you like to hear from first that's on the call?
You
Okay.
decide. You know
Joe, I see you got your camera on there.
The best rotation.
All right. So Joe, if you don't mind us kicking it to you, one of the things that the board members asked questions about was the bond rate that's in the bond call, the 5.75%, and that's a cushion, like worst case scenario with that, and the calculations given reflect that number, but would you speak a little bit about if the actual bond rate is lower than that, how it could affect things?
Sure. First of all, let me introduce myself. I want to thank you all for giving Piper Sandler an opportunity to serve as municipal advisor to the Wirt County Board of Education. I've been working with school boards across the state on bond issuances since 1998. Done a substantial amount of transactions just in the last 5 to 6 years. And so I just want to thank you for having the opportunity to work with you on this transaction. So one of the things that I'm asked to do and my role when you all are considering adoption of your bond election order is to determine 3 factors. Number 1, how much money do you want to borrow? And in this case, it's been determined $9.3 million. So in your bond order, one of the items we need to factor in is that you will not be able to issue bonds in excess of $9.3 million. That is the maximum amount. So number 2, what is the length or the term of the bonds that you want to borrow it over? We have in there 15.5 years. What we're expecting is something closer to 15 years and a couple of months. But you couldn't go out and borrow in excess of 15 and a half years if you adopt this order stating 15 and a half. The reason we use 15 years is it tends to be about where a sweet spot where 90 to 95% of school bond issues over the years have used a 15-year maturity. Typically after 15 years, you start to need upgrades on the facilities that you just financed or items that you just put in place. And at that point, you might need to do another bond or you need to seek other types of funding to either do the upgrades or new projects. So 20 years always seem to be very long. 15 years seems to be a sweet spot, kind of fits in with kind of average life of improvements as well. So 15 and a half years, 9.3 million. And then the third item we need to determine is the interest rate. Now we have to do a maximum interest rate as well, which means that whatever interest rate we disclose in the bond election order, if rates were to exceed that rate, in this case 5.75%, when you're ready to sell these bonds in April of next year, you would not be able to close that bond issue. So the rates would have to be under 5.75%. And so it is it's an estimate in terms of how much cushion you might need. You could go higher, but that drives up those levy rates you're showing to the voters. And then you could do it tighter, which actually makes those proposed levy rates look a little bit smaller. But the reality will be, when April rolls around, if you have a successful passage of your bond in November by the voters, when you're ready to sell your bonds by April of next year, your rate will be the actual rate that the bond market bids, or these bidders kind of bid on your bonds. And so currently, if we were to look at today's market, your rate would be somewhere in that low 4s to a 4.7% based on today. Fixed rate going out 15 years compared to this maximum rate we've set of 5.75%. That gives you about a little more than 100 basis points coverage over where the market is today. And so this is the main reason when we size your levy rates, we have to look at those three factors: 9.3 million, a 15-year financing at an interest rate not to exceed 5.75%. So that are the main, what's disclosed in the bond order, which is going to be in your advertisements, which will be on the ballot, is going to be those proposed levy rates that are in there. Now, those aren't the rates that are going to be the actual rates. Wherever the interest rate winds up being on the bonds, less than 5.75%, will dictate the actual rate at that time that would be levied on voters. I sent you all an email over to the board, and they probably shared it with you, but we looked at what the impact was on today's, let's say for a class 2, levy rate that's going to be in the bond order. We have 22.18 cents per 100 that's currently disclosed in there of assessed values. Based on a market rate, let's say a 4.7%, the actual rate, if that were to hold, would be 20.66 cents per $100. And so that 22.18, those levy rates that you're looking at can be viewed as based on these maximum worst case parameters. This would be based on your most current certified values. These would be the maximum rates, right? That would be imposed based on those rates coming in at 5.75. But the board would fully expect, and your team here, that rate would come in under that, and hence an actual lower levy rate that would be established on the bonds. So I didn't want to get too technical there, but I wanted to let you know that those are the parameters that I'm being hired for during the bond election order. And we plug those parameters in, and they, in a nifty little model, we're able to compute what those levy rates are, to disclose that to the voters. In the packet, we also provided you with samples of what would, the amount of tax, annual tax be payable on a $9.3 million bond, 15 years at 5.75, for a medium home value of appraised of, let's say, $120,000. And I think you'll see in your packet that typical homeowner, class 2, would have a monthly tax rate of about $13.31 per month, and annually about $159.7. Now that's based on the current maximum bond election rates. So we would expect those amounts to be levied for to be less than that if and when the bonds are actually sold. At the 4.7, you'll see there's not a lot of interest rate, not a lot of difference in the monthly tax. So at a 4.7% rate, a monthly tax would be $12.40 compared to what you're disclosing to the voters, 13.31 cents. So it's about 89, let's see, what is that? $89, no, I'm sorry. Looks like 89 cents, 89, yeah, about 89, 90 cents difference per month for where the rates are at the lower rate versus at that higher 5.75% rate. So really, in the end, I think those are the items that you probably would want to be looking for.
Any questions about?
Yeah, what's delinquencies / exonerations, 10%?
Yes. Yeah, so basically this 10%, the way that the bond commission sets your levy, so when you go out, what they do is they, if we've estimated as an example based on the 5.75% interest rate, that the amount you pay over 15 years, the maximum amount in any year is about $952,100. That's your annual debt service. This, we call it delinquencies and exonerations, but what the bond commission does is in not just with this levy rate, but with others as well that are imposed on the county, they tack on a 10% on top of that, so that what they're actually levying for is $1,047,000 instead of $952,000. Now, why do they do that? Well, they have to make sure they're going to levy for enough. You wouldn't want, if you levy for 100%, and you only receive 98%, then you wouldn't have enough to pay your bondholders. So they always tack on that extra 10%. However, what happens if there are surplus monies each year that are levied for, that aren't needed as part of that 10%, they go into your Wirt County School Board surplus fund. And that fund builds up, and later, at a later date, you can use it to pay off your bonds towards your final bond payment in 15th year, or if you refunded your bonds, there's an opportunity at that point, refunded meaning if you refinance them, you may have an ability to draw those funds for school improvements that were voted for under the bond call. But the important thing is, this is what the bond commission will do. $952,000 is going to be due in fiscal year 28, and they are going to tack on 10%, call it delinquency exoneration, it's that 10% cushion, to make sure there's going to be enough levy for, and then the amounts that are actually levied. 952 go to the bondholders, any excess that's collected would go into a surplus fund. And restricted again for use only by the Wirt County School Board of Education. You can't draw that money, but it sits in that surplus fund, and ultimately you kind of look at it like as a building reserve. But that money at some juncture, you'd be able to use it to retire your bonds. Maybe you'll build up enough over 15 years so that the last year will be used to pay off your bonds.
Yeah, and Joe, I'd just add to that, in the unlikely event there is a balance once the bonds are paid in full, that balance is returned to the Board of Education. It doesn't go to the bond purchaser or some other third party.
Correct. So that's essentially, we take your most recent certified assessed values as well. I wanted to be clear there. We used your July 1, 25, tax year 26 certified assessed values. Those are the most recent, assessed values. So you take those parameters with that exoneration, you look at what your most recent assessed values for property class are, and that is what determines your levy rates.
Okay, thank you for that answer.
I've got a question. So for the bonds are going to be sold in $5,000 increments? Is that correct?
Yeah, so basically, if you have a successful passage of the bond election order, and we're getting an offering document ready to go, there's a whole process that we will start in December after you get your final approval from the school building authority. They meet in December of this year, so if you pass your bond election order, school building authority approves it. Some of the next steps that have to occur are getting Attorney General approval, which requires a lot of publications, and then ultimately an offering document, very thick offering document is prepared, and you'll be getting a bond rating on that. That bond rating is going to be equal to the state's S&P rating. There's a program rating that school boards in West Virginia get assigned. It's a AA-, very strong bond rating, and that's because of the Municipal Bond Commission's annual role in setting your levy rate. So, and the 10% that was brought up. And so that gives you this strong rating. When the bonds are ready to be sold, they're competitively offered. There's a bond offering document that would be posted for the whole, global finance industry that wants to bid on tax-exempt general obligation bonds. And so what happens is we will receive these bids from these particular banks, investment banks, other investors. It'll be winner take all in terms of the lowest rate that would come in on a single day. These buyers have specific expectations or requirements for how they buy the bonds. So that 5,000 increment, to answer your question, essentially the 5,000 denominations are, you wouldn't issue the 9,299,000, for instance, because that wouldn't be 5,000 increment. All that is that you would have to issue either 9.3 million, which is the plan. We plan to do that exact amount. Or you'd have to do 9,295,000. But ultimately, when those bonds are purchased by this winning bidder, they'll be in $5,000 denominations for other investors of that bank or that investment bank. So you may have individual investors that will be purchasing those through that winning bidder. They wouldn't buy the whole thing, but they would buy, let's say, 85,000, but they couldn't buy 84,000 bonds. So it's just structured in a manner that is market acceptable and kind of draws the lowest rate, and ultimately the winning bidder that they can turn around with their clientele in the order they received and disperse those, kind of have their investors invest in those bonds, even though they are the winning bidder. And so I hope I answered that question properly.
Yeah,
That's where the 5,000 denoms comes in.
so then there would be one bidder that would buy over 1,800, and then what they do with them is, what they do with them then later is not our concern, but there would only be one,
Yeah.
there would be one acceptable bidder that would buy all of them, is that correct?
Yes, so the state statute requires a competitive bid on these. I wish we could do it differently, right? And that bid is the whole bond is offered, and it is an all or nothing bids that come in. Now, I've done 50, 60 of these bonds over the last bunch of years. I would expect for this transaction at $9.3 million, it's under $10 million, we would probably receive anywhere from 7 to maybe 10 bids from very large, or in this case could be medium-sized banks or investment banks. This could be JP Morgan Chase or Citigroup, or could be a regional bank like U.S. Bank. So ultimately, they may have a consortium of bidders with them that they pull together, but when they submit their bid as the lead, whoever that will be, it is all or nothing, and the rate is computed electronically in a system. It's an online system. You'll all be able to see these bids coming in. They have to do it by a specific time, so it's incredibly fair. And it'll rank those bids, and when we come back to you, we'll be able to say, hey, the winning bid is, a net interest cost of 4.25%. These are the cover 6 bids that show the rates being a little bit higher. So that bank would get awarded all the bonds. They will typically have, again, investors behind them that they will allocate those bonds to. It's a pretty efficient process. You're in a sweet spot. If Tom Piercy allows it, these would be what are called bank qualified. So any bonds that are issued by a county in a calendar year, in total, if you have less than 10 million, these would be bank qualified. What does that mean to you? It means that it may open this up to a number of banks, like let's say a United Bank or a West Bank or others, that may actually bid on these bonds because they get a credit towards the carrying cost because of the bank qualification. So I would expect very robust, strong demand for these. They'll be tax exempt. They're full faith general obligation bonds. They'll have a AA- rating, and likely to be they'll have a bank qualification status, which will be very, very positive in terms of generating regional and larger local banks.
Other questions?
Also on the call is Tom Percy with Bowles and Rice, who drafted the actual bond order that's in your packet, and he is available if you have any questions specifically regarding the bond order for him.
Are you there, sir? Is he there?
Apologies, I was on mute. They decided to have a rock concert outside of my office this evening, so hopefully there's no residual noise. But yeah, Superintendent, that's right. I'm happy to walk through the bond election order at a high level and then answer any questions to the extent that's helpful for the board members.
Absolutely.
If you have the packet in front of you, I just want to highlight a few sections. First, this is the bond election order, very much the document that sets this process in motion. At its core, you're calling for an election to be held on November 3rd for the question of issuing bond within the parameters set forth in this document. So if you look at section 3, you'll see that the total project costs are actually $27,300,000. That includes a component of SBA funding in the amount of $18 million, which of course is not guaranteed, but we believe is very likely to be awarded at the December meeting. The remainder is bond proceeds, $9,300,000. And so in section 4, you'll see your aggregate assessed value for each class of property, and those classes are the levy rates that Joe described on what those levy rates would be applied to. In section 5, you'll see there's a recital of your existing outstanding indebtedness, and that's actually $210,000 relating to a QZAP bond issuance back in 2017. I was actually fortunate enough to work on that for the Wirt County Board of Education. So there's $210,000 remaining there. But if you look at the statutory and the constitutional limitation on bonded indebtedness, it's 5% of your total assessed valuation. And so here, that's not an issue. You have roughly $15 million of bonding capacity. So that won't be an issue at all. Section 6 and 8 really set the parameters that Joe described. Bonds in an amount not to exceed $9,300,000, an interest rate not to exceed 5.75%, and a term not to exceed 15 and 1/2 years. We expect the term to actually be 15 years, but in case there's any period for capitalized interest, which isn't an issue here, or other factors, we like to give that flexibility in the bond election order. Moving to the next page, you'll see the chart. So this chart is actually appears twice in this document, once here and once in the ballot, the sample ballot that the voters will see. And so just quickly going through the projects, and I defer to Ernie and his team on specifics, but we have 3 main projects. First, the new additions, improvements, and renovations to Wirt County High School. You'll see $5.2 million of that is funded by bond proceeds and $18 million by the SBA. Next, we have the athletic field improvements, $3 million of which is going to be funded by bond proceeds and none from the SBA. And then the new bus garage to be in Palestine in the amount of $900,000. And so this narrative that you see in front of you is the same narrative that the voters will see when they go to the ballot box. On the next page, you'll see essentially the sources of those funds. Again, just broken down by source. $18 million from the SBA, project costs in the amount of $9.1 million, cost of issuance in the amount of $200,000, and then the total par amount of the bonds. Skipping down to section 11, I think this is critical. This is on the following page. The issuance of these bonds is subject to a school building authority award or commitment of funds in the amount sufficient to complete these projects. You can't build these new additions and improvements, obviously, for $5.2 million. You're going to need that SBA award. So in the event, in the unlikely event the SBA does not award these funds, you're really stuck without a bond issue until those funds are awarded. We did leave some flexibility in there for other sources in case they were available, but by and large, this bond issuance rests on the availability of the SBA funding. And so I just wanted to make that clear to the folks in the room this evening. There's also some language that addresses what happens in the event of a shortfall or surplus funds. And I think the big takeaway is the board has discretion to allocate funds or reduce funds for one or more of the above stated purposes. So we understand these are estimates, right? We also understand that the projects may come in higher than estimated or lower than estimated. And so there is some flexibility to to allocate funds between the projects. What you can do is abandon a project. In other words, you can't decide not to build the bus garage, but I don't think that's something that this board had in mind to begin with. And then finally, I would skip down to the 7th page, which has the official ballot. This is really, I guess, a rewriting of the concepts that I've already described and that Joe described in his introduction. But this is the format that it will be presented. It is lengthy, we recognize that. I can tell you in other counties we've seen much longer, but this is what the voters will be asked to weigh in on November 3rd, whether they support the bond issue, yes, or are against the bond issue, no. And so otherwise, there's a lot of provisions addressing requirements under the West Virginia Constitution, under Chapter 13, Article 1 of the West Virginia Code, which relates to the issuance of public bonds. And so I'm happy to answer any questions, but I just wanted to give a general overview of this document because this is the document that's before the board tonight for consideration.
Mr. Piercy, this is KMS Board President. When I asked for the motion, okay, for this, it is my understanding that I will read everything that's bolded at the top of the, starts with an order of the Board of Education of the County of Wirt. That
Yeah.
will go down. That'll be what I'll ask for a motion on.
Yes, sir. That would be a sufficient motion. Simply reading that bolded title at the very top of the first page and just a motion to approve an order of the board, so on and so forth, if that is the election of the board.
Okay. I don't have to read this whole document.
No, sir.
Okay, good. I can read pretty fast.
I have a question for Mr. Piercy.
Oh, yeah. Let me
Go ahead.
finish, Mark. Yeah, I just want to make sure. I didn't want there to be an issue with, I didn't ask for a correct motion or anything. Okay, we have more questions for you, Mr. Piercy. Mr. Lowe?
Mr. Piercy, you mentioned something about higher or lower expenses. Pretty sure it's not going to be lower. But is there any kind of a cap or a lid on this, on the surprise spending? Is there a limit to it?
I think the short answer to that is probably no, but I'll let Ernie weigh in on that because his team is really on the engineering design side. I'm more on the legal side, but I will tell you this, the bond proceeds, the par amount of the bonds would be fixed. That is a maximum amount, but in terms of project costs, I defer to Ernie and his team.
Can you repeat the question? I didn't hear it clearly.
Will there be a limit or a cap on the spending? The surprise expenses, the cost, will there be a lid on it, a cap, a limit?
Well, I think I understand your question, and it's a good question. The estimates we provided are that estimates of what we think the projects will bid in a year and a half from now. So we think that that's going to be the maximum amount, and we'll design to those numbers once we start designing to make sure to as an extra guarantee that the projects will come in at that number. Bid day is bid day. We can't predict that because it's a public bid. So if they do come over, we have to take them back and see why they came in and over. We'll review that with you, and if there's money that we could shift from project to project to cover it, we'll do it that way, or we do something what's called value engineer, where we engineer the project again, and so that it'll come in at the number it's in the bond.
There are contingencies built into this budget.
But if that project goes over, okay, and, we need this or that, you guys won't move. I mean, it'll take the vote of this board to approve any of those funds from the initial project or any change orders or anything like this, that might throw that over, okay? The actual board here will vote on those before you guys will expend those funds.
Yes.
Yes.
Every pay app
Yeah, and if we just can't afford it, or if we think it's run away, we don't approve it. Other questions for Mr. Pierce?
Yes, Mr. Piercy. So the total project is broken down into three sub-projects. From what you were saying, does that mean that those are not severable? Like, if it's approved, we have to follow through with all three. We couldn't decide that we're not going to do one of the bottom two. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's exactly correct. So the Supreme Court has weighed on this in similar circumstances in the past, and essentially, at a high level, if I had to summarize their holding, it's that what the voters approve is a contract with the voters. And that's not to say every project is going to come into the exact cent that it's estimated, but that the voters expect additions to be made to Wirt County High, athletic field improvements in the bus garage. And so you could not abandon one of the projects. You could reduce the scope of one of the projects to fit with any budget or spending restraints that you have, but you would have to pursue the completion of each of these projects. And so as long as you do that in good faith, there should not be an issue.
Okay, so
Is that responsive?
Yeah, so if for instance, we needed more of those funds to complete the new additions to the high school, we could move funds from the athletic field project or the bus project as long as we in good faith attempt to complete those other two projects?
That's exactly right. And I think some of that discussion goes to Ernie's point of value engineering. I mean, certainly we hope all of these come within budget. There is a contingency. Ernie and his team have a lot of experience planning for these sorts of things. But also experience has shown us that construction costs can vary widely, and obviously inflation is a big deal, especially in this industry. And so you could scale back a particular project. You could allocate funds from one to the other. Another thing I would mention, and I wouldn't rely on this necessarily, but when these funds are deposited at closing into the project fund, you have an ability to earn interest through investment at the West Virginia Board of Treasury Investments. And so it's yielding right now, don't quote me on this, but roughly 5%, maybe a bit less. But in any event, if you apply that to $9 million annually, obviously those funds will be spent down over time, but there is an opportunity to have some investment earnings to go towards your project. The other thing I would mention, again, this is not a guarantee. A lot of times in the competitive bid process, companies will, or investment banks and financial institutions will include a bond premium or a premium in the purchase price that will result in additional proceeds being available. Now that's how they structure the yield on the bonds, and that's a very technical issue and one that Joe can probably describe better than I can. But I guess the takeaway is there is not the certainty, but the possibility of additional funds beyond the $9.1 million being available for project costs.
Let me address real quick because I think interest earnings is a good point. Interest rates, return rates are high. They're over 4% at the bond commission in your specific fund. So you could expect if you had an average life of 2 years drawing down on your bond, because it will take a while to draw down, you're going to have all these SBA monies that are matching or even excess being drawn at the same time. But you should, if you had 1 year of earning, let's just say 4% at $9 million average life of 1 year, that's $360,000 right there, Tom, you're right. And then on the premium side, with most West Virginia bond issues, but not all, oftentimes bidders will give you a 5% premium in exchange. They want in exchange for a slightly higher rate on the bonds, with the net rate being the lowest rate being bid. They will have that ability to do that to try to generate a lot of interest. That 5% could be another $450,000. If the winning bidder bid a 105 premium with a very low rate, then you'd have $450,000 plus potentially $350,000 plus in interest earnings. So there are going to be these monies for contingency that are available, and it may add up to 10% of the bond. $9 million as an example, maybe $900,000 or $800,000. But the project's obviously much larger than that, right? It's $32 million. So as your advisor, we don't have any idea where those big packages are gonna come in. You're gonna have to rely on Ernie to come up with a plan for, if you know, what are you going to build if the costs come in higher, right? And I think school boards deal with this on school bond issues over the past 5 years or so, the few that have gotten done. They've all had to deal with this. And it makes for good planning on your all's part in terms of, what are you going to prioritize? And Ernie, I don't know how, and Tom, how flexible the language is in there, but ultimately, I think you'll have to make some plans if bids come in a little high.
Yeah, and there is flexibility in the language, and in fact, it's on the ballot itself. And so, if the exact language is that if the proceeds of the bonds and amounts allocated for the above stated purposes are insufficient to complete the projects, then the board, in its discretion, shall allocate such shortfall to one or more of the above stated purposes. And so, you could reduce the scope of the athletic field improvements. You could reduce the scope through value engineering, as Ernie described, in the improvements to Wirt County High School. But you would still accomplish the projects in accordance with the voters' intent. It would just be, you can't invent dollars out of thin air, and we recognize that. The courts do as well. And so that flexibility is built into the ballot. Of course, we hope to avoid that issue, but there is a plan in case that becomes a reality.
And Tom, there's some flexibility as well over the time to secure funds from other sources, quote,
That's
right?
right.
Whatever those
That's
might be, grants or whatever it might be. So, I think there's the ability still to get the projects done. They're typically long draw periods, so.
Mrs. Cummings, you've been quiet. Do you have questions?
No, maybe just one question for Mr. Piercy. Within the ballot itself, it's very specific on locations. If by chance we would happen to get to Palestine and find that that ground is not sufficient to support a bus garage, is it possible for it to be located elsewhere?
So currently, that is a great question. I think I heard you. It's that if the bus garage was not able to be located in Palestine, could it be located elsewhere? Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So right now, the voters are going to approve the location. So Palestine is the location. It's my understanding there's already a lot there. Although we understand, issues can arise with soil sampling or things kind of outside of anyone's control. As it's stated right now on the ballot, you would have to use best efforts to find a suitable replacement in that area. Now, if that was a legal impossibility, if there was no suitable ground or lots available to do it within the parameters described in the ballot, then we'd probably just seek judicial relief to select another location. We've had to do that in the past. Certainly we want to avoid that. But it's a good question because right now the voters would expect that bus garage to be there. And I think courts would too, unless there's extenuating circumstances where that just could not occur.
Along with her question, is that demolition of the old building, existing building?
No. Of the current bus garage?
No, at Palestine.
No, I don't think I think we have like 2 acres there. I think we could build the bus garage there without tearing down what's there.
I don't know if that was included in the price. I don't,
No, I think we have about 2 acres there to put a new building without demoing that building.
Other questions? Who else we have on there?
Ernie, Tom Piercy, and Joe. And Mr. Stour, who did the sports complex, is on the call.
Well, see if they want to. If they have anything they want to say.
Mr. Sauer, I see that you're on there. Do you have anything that you would like to add, or if the board has any questions for you?
No, I think it's pretty clear unless you guys would like me to discuss what is being proposed.
I have a question for him. He's with the sports complex.
Yes.
Did you make sure that the seating capacity is in with the state recommendations for, like, if our football team would be able to have a home field. There's regulations for how many seating for visitors and, the other. So, we went for years not being able to, and the football stadium now is legal to have home field advantage at the field. So have you checked that? And what is the seating capacity? I never caught that.
It's 1,500
Your current,
per single way.
15,000 people for, seating capacity. 1,500, I'm sorry. Yeah, 1,500. And, you're currently at, 1,380 on the home and approximately 200, max on the visitors, if there was 100 and some. So, the proposed, would have 1,500, and, if needed, we could always separate, the visitor area, but still keep it on the same side in order to save cost.
Okay, now, with that in mind, would there be enough room also for band seating?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Okay, not only do we have seating for the spectators, but we also got to have seating for the
For
band.
the band, yes, depending on how we, organize this, we can also have, that seating, but also if you do want separate band seating, it is much less expensive, in order to get portable seatings in order to put those in the end zone, depending on your band size.
Right, I just knew where you're saying, had area there where you have kids play, but it'd be nice to have a little bit of seating for band there also.
But a standard football game, the capacity I've shown, would be adequate for, the people that come, both home and away, and then have the student section with the band. And then on the rivalry games, if you would, if you have something where you feel it's going to be overcapacitated or a playoff game, at that time you can always rent seating for the band to put them in the end zones and have it delivered.
Okay.
But even still, a 1,500 person capacity grandstand that's going to provide quite a bit for single-leg football.
One other thing that I believe I picked up the last time too, that I questioned later on, was it necessary to have to demolish the old bus garage? Could we still keep it?
Pending what ultimately goes through, if we want to look at putting in any form of track or a track that has an oval, then yes, in order to expand it, we would have to. If we would substitute a synthetic turf field and then just have the people run on the interior of the synthetic turf field, we could always strike the turf for said occurrence. Then there's an opportunity to keep the bus garage.
Okay. Thank you.
But those are all things when we start having our public meetings and we get that planning, we'll plan those things. Or figure
Yeah,
out.
I would just add one thing to that. The ballot is intentionally general. I mean, it's specific to inform the voters of what these bonds are going to finance, right? But it does allow for flexibility for those sort of specifics to be determined at a later date. And so there is flexibility on those issues. And of course, I know the board's input, the public's input will all be critical, of course, within the budget constraints.
Yeah, that is in the levy call, it's the addition of a practice track, so that would have to stay in there. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, gentlemen, we appreciate your time. We're going to do a motion here in just a little bit. You're welcome to stay there and see how that works out for us.
Well, we really appreciate the opportunity to be involved in this, and great work by the superintendent and staff and all the professional team as well. So thanks so much for the consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, we are down to time. If we're finished with questions for the experts, we're down to time that we're going to ask for a motion. We're going to get this under motion, then we'll have discussion, okay, as we're supposed to. So at this time, motion order of the Board of Education of the County of Wirt, direct an election to be held for the purpose of submitting to the voters of Wirt County School District all questions, collection, and contracting of a debt, and issuing of bonds in the principal amount not to exceed $9,300,000. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Now we're into, we'll go in discussion or comments, and I'm going to start, okay, and take privilege of the seat. You know, give a lot of thought to this, and as a person that went to Wirt County High School, have very fond memories of the old building, but I also understand that there comes a time when we have to move on. We have to do better for our kids. It's just like when we opened the middle school, okay? We did better for our kids. You know, it wasn't painless. I was principal of the school that was closed in order to open the middle school. Good thing about this, we're not closing any schools. Okay, we're just going to build a new high school that will meet the needs into the future of our students, our staff, and our community. Okay, and you know, I've had people say to me, are you going to vote to raise my taxes? My answer to that is no, I'm not going to vote to raise your taxes. You will do that, or you won't do that. Okay, I'm very simply tonight by my vote saying that I believe it's worthwhile to put in front of our citizens, give our citizens the right to say yes or no. I have a vote, they have a vote, we all have one vote. So tonight I don't look at it as you know, I could vote yes on this to put it in front of our voters because that's the way we do things. And I could go and vote no on the levy, or I'm sorry, on the bond, okay? No, I'm not going to do that, but I could. So my vote tonight's about allowing our citizens to decide what's best for our kids. Not Dan Metz, not Darren Sherlock, not Mark Lowe, but what is best for our kids, okay? Brent Stewart, I'm going to get everybody. How's that? You know, my vote's saying that I trust our people out there to decide whether this is what they want to happen or not. You know, I hate to see the high school be tore down, but we are obligated, when we took our oath, we're obligated to do what's best for our kids and for our staff for that matter. So with that, I'll open the floor up to whoever wishes to speak.
Well, I've got a couple of questions here.
Mark, why don't you turn on your microphone and pull it towards you so everybody can, people can hear you out there.
Pages 2 and 3, are they going to be put out in the journal?
It's public information. We could post it anywhere. Yes, Mark, there's nothing, we don't want to keep that as a secret.
Right. You know,
I can't tell you you're going to get published in journal because I don't publish. I don't have a say in that. I think we have a journal person with us. I'm sure the journal will post these. But I will tell you they'll get published on our website, and people can come in and get it. It is public, okay? We're not trying to hide anything from anybody. They need to know. If I'm going to vote yes, I need to know at the maximum, okay? And that's the maximum. This is what it's going to cost me. I go look at my tax ticket. I figure out how much it's going to cost me if they sold for maximum, okay? So to answer your questions, yes, Mark, we want that out there. Yeah. Can't guarantee you outside organizations are going to do it, but I can guarantee you we're going to do it.
Mark, are you talking about, when you said page 2 or 3, are you talking about the levy rate charts?
Yes.
Right?
correct, both of them, page 2 and 3,
Okay.
in the paper, published in the paper for the people to see. They can make an intelligent decision.
Yeah. Again, we can't guarantee that's going to happen because we can't make them publish anything, okay?
But we can put it on
But
our website and make it
we can put it
available
on
to
a
the public,
website and we
absolutely.
can, invite people in to get copies of them. They are not secret. We want people to know it.
Up to this, are you done?
Yes, sir, I'm done.
Okay. Up to this point, I've just been right along with you 100%. That, like it says on his right arm right there, we the people, and I've been right along, but I want people to know how I feel about it. And I have 4 reasons I'm going to vote no on this. And one of them is the burden on me personally paying taxes, the burden on my children paying this off. Number 2. Number 3, the burden on my children's children paying this off. And number 4, the burden on my children's children's paying this off. We're going to be gone.
It's 15 years.
They're the ones, I crunched the numbers, I know. And that's it. And I'm giving you a fact. I've been a very, very blessed man that I can say that, make that comment that I made. I mean, to have your children's children, that's a big deal. That's a big, big deal, and that's a blessing from God. Our nation is 40 trillion in debt, and I'm not willing to just go along with going right in debt right along with the rest of the nation. But that's my say.
I do have one thing, and I mentioned a little bit ago. I feel that we don't go forward with it, and this is my opinion too, Mr. Lowe, is we're going to get condemned. That's it. They can come in and say, you know, you're not going to be going into school, because I know that happens at Norman Town. They bring out little buildings out there, little trailers, and say, this is where your kids can have school.
But didn't you ask that question about the health department coming in, and the answer was it was okay?
And then,
Did you?
and they look at it, but they can do that if they.
Well, I thought that was the question Mr. Stewart
Well,
asked.
I did ask it, but they didn't say it was okay. They took care of the problems they had pointed out.
Okay.
But I can tell you that can happen. And once it's done, you can't do nothing with it. It'll sit you. Because they'll also say that you can't send people in there to demolish it. The same school I told you about, that's what they came up with there also.
And I'm not convinced on the flood zone. I'm not convinced on that yet.
No, we're under motion, okay, and public doesn't cut in under motion. Not being mean to you, I'm just telling you, we're under motion.
I'm also concerned about the cost, and I encourage everybody that's gonna vote on this to look at the tax rate, what it would mean for your personal situation, and to consider that if you are renting a house if you're renting your home and you're not the owner of that property, you have a landlord, that landlord is going to have to pay at the class 3 or 4 rate, which would be double. And that doesn't mean that the renter doesn't have to pay it. It means that it'll go in the cost of their rent, which would most likely cause a raise in the rents for those people. There's 4 different classes of taxes for properties here, and I encourage everybody to look at that and see how it affects their personal situation when they balance it on the ballot versus the need of a good school and these improvements versus the need of them to be able to afford their own standard of living lifestyle. So, I would say that, like Mr. Metz just said, as far as tonight, The purpose is for us to make the decision that our community is intelligent enough to take all things that have been said, all things that will be presented in the future, and make that decision for themselves. Now, I wasn't going to say it, but since we are weighing in, I will. My reasons are similar to Mr. Lowe's, but in the opposite. Because two of the best years of education that I had were when I went here to Wirt County. And the things, the staff that impacted me when I was here will never leave, right? Regardless if we update the buildings or we don't. We could have class in a TP and it would still mean the same. But I will say that I wholeheartedly look at my children today and I think their kids is kids is kids. And if they choose to live here, I want them to know that I took that burden on. And you hear it a lot that if it has to happen in my time instead of theirs. And I would prefer that because I know my strengths and my weaknesses, and I know that I can provide those funds however I need to. But that's a personal choice. So my vote tonight is simply just to put it out to the public. But that's how I weigh on it, and that is my opinion on the matter.
Very good. So I do believe, if everybody's had their say, we are ready now to take a vote. So we have a motion of the Wirt County Board of, let me start again, I'm sorry. And we have a motion to vote on in order of the Board of Education of the County of Wirt, directing an election to be held for the purpose of submitting to the voters of Wirt County School District all questions connected with the contracting of a debt and the issuing of bonds in the principal amount not to exceed $9,300,000. All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed say nay.
Nay.
Okay, I'll call Mr. Lowe's, but nay. Okay, so we have a motion carries, 3-2 vote. Sherry, if it's not unanimous, we have to put it within the minutes who voted no. That would be Mr. Sherlock and Mr. Lowe. So motion carries. Gentlemen, we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay there.
Thank you. Thank you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to the superintendent, who can reach out to me. Happy to come to a future board meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think
Okay.
it goes for all of us. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay, gentlemen, we are down to routine business, personnel matters. I need a motion to accept the resignation of Brandy Richards, Assistant Principal, Wirt County Primary Center, Safe School Bus Transportation Communication Monitor, Wirt County Schools, both effective August 21st, 2026. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. McCown.
So her letter is in your packet. She has been offered a job elsewhere, and I think it's a technology job that is well suited to her, and appreciate her time working here as assistant principal and wish her well in her new position.
Any comments?
She will be truly missed.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the resignation of Brandy Richards, Assistant Principal, Wirt County Primary Center and Safe School Bus Transportation Communication Monitor, Wirt County Schools, both effective August 21st, 2026. All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Under employment, need a motion to employ April Petrosky as Assistant Cross Country Coach, Wirt County High School, effective for the 26-27 school year upon completion of her required paperwork.
So moved.
Mr. McCown?
Her application is in your packet. Happy that she's willing to pick up that vacancy.
Just can't leave it alone.
Just can't leave it alone.
Any questions? Here none, we have a motion to approve the employment of April Petrosky, Assistant Cross Country Coach, Wirt County High School, effective for the 26-27 school year upon completion of her required paperwork. All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Need a motion to approve the employment of professional substitutes for rehire, that is Jeremy March, for 26-27 school year.
So moved.
Mr. McCown?
They just returned their letter, so we added them on the agenda.
Any questions? Hear none, we have a motion to approve the professional substitutes for rehire. Name is Jeremy March for 26-27 school year. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Down to authorized positions. Need a motion to authorize beginning 1, A, B, and C, gentlemen, if it's okay. Take as one motion. They're all mentor teachers for new people. No names attached yet. Is that okay if we take them as one motion? Yes? Okay, so need a motion to authorize position of beginning mentor teacher for kindergarten extracurricular, begin teacher mentor for second grade extracurricular, and begin teacher mentor for fourth grade extracurricular. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. McCown?
We've got some new folks, and we need to have authorized mentor positions for them, so bringing these three to you tonight.
Good thing to need.
Yes, it is. Any questions? Hear none. We have a motion to authorize positions of mentor teacher for kindergarten extracurricular, second grade extracurricular, and fourth grade extracurricular. All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Need a motion to approve auxiliary coach for football at Wirt County Middle School.
So moved.
I'm going to go with Mr. Moore. I heard his voice first. Go ahead.
So Gail's request for both of these positions is in an email that's in your packet. I think both of these sports need a little bit of extra help, and they've got somebody willing to do it. So if you recall the policy that you all approved, the principal requests it, I bring it to you, you authorize it, then at the next board meeting, Mrs. Hickman will be back with the name recommended by the head coach, the athletic director, and her, and then you will put those folks into that position. And just a reminder, it is not a paid position.
Questions? It's good to see our new policy working.
Thank you.
This is the way it's supposed to be. Okay, so we have motion to approve the auxiliary coach for football, Wirt County Middle School. All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Need a motion to approve an auxiliary coach for wrestling at Wirt County Middle School.
So moved.
Same deal.
Same exact thing. I think they need a little help. I think they've got somebody willing to do it. So Gail is asking you to authorize this.
Any questions? Hear none. We have a motion to approve auxiliary coach for wrestling in Wirt County Middle School. All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Need a motion to approve a custodian, authorized position for custodian, Wirt County School Board Office, Board of Education Office, extracurricular.
So moved.
So this is new. That draft posting is in your packet, but basically is we are authorizing this extracurricular up to 5 hours per week to put that out there, and instead of trying to rotate people through and them all being grumbly about it, this gives somebody that wants to work a little extra the chance to bid on that, and somebody that wants to come over here and earn a little extra a chance to come do that up to 5 hours per week.
Sounds good. Questions? Hear none. We have a motion to approve, not to approve. We have a motion to authorize a custodian, Wirt County Schools Board of Education Office extracurricular. All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Okay, it is a special meeting, so we do not have board concerns on special meetings. So we are down to adjournment. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.